So today I'm going to walk you through how we were able to win the Champions League in Football Manager 2024. I'll walk you through the tactic that we actually used, and I feel that contributed little to why we actually won the game, and I'm going to walk you through what we did prior to the match that actually helped us win the game. First of all, let's look at the UEFA Champions League competition. If you look at the Champions League, we had a 4-4 draw against Liverpool, and then we ended up winning the game on penalties. At some point in this game, I did think that we were going to lose the game. You'd notice that Liverpool went ahead 1-0 by Jazz Grady. We got the equalizer a few minutes afterwards, and then they went ahead 2-1 again. It wasn't until the second half that Lamine Yamal made it 3-1, and at that point, I did think that we were actually going to lose the game. But, funny enough, Football Manager has a way of working, and then I went on to tweak the tactic a little bit, and then we got our second goal. It was 3-2 at that point, and then in the 88th minute, we managed to get the late equalizer, making it 3-3. And then in extra time, Liverpool went on to score from a corner, and then they went ahead 4-3. And at that point, I was thinking, okay, they've probably FM'd us at this point. But 4 minutes from time, Rico Lewis got a late equalizer for us again, and then the game was forced into the T shootout. Now, stats-wise, you notice that the game was evenly balanced. We kind of played Liverpool 2-2, but they had a slightly higher XG, but a slightly less ball possession. So what our tactic did for us in this game was actually keep us in the game. It didn't help us win the game, but it helped us stay in the match. So tactically, like we saw before, this is how we set up with Liverpool. My goalkeeper prefers to play as a super keeper on support duty, but I changed a lot of the roles. Jamal Musiala is normally playing on the wing as a winger on attack duty, but he was injured for a while, and then when it was time for the Champions League final, he actually came back from injury. So I had to just play him as an advanced playmaker to actually help us create chances from central areas. I needed to overload the middle of the field, so I had an inverted wing back play on support duty. I kept my defense as ball playing defenders on defend duty, and then I had an attacking player in Ivan Fresneda. Now, the reason why I mentioned him as an attacking player is because during the match, I did switch to an attacking mentality, and at some point during extra time, we went for a very attacking mentality. That's actually what helped us score the two late equalizers that we scored. We were using a very attacking mentality in that game. So if you're in the Champions League final, do not be shy of going very attacking. If you actually need a goal, your team is probably good enough that you got into the final in the first place, so they will have the quality to actually help you get a goal. But you have to be careful how you do it. If it's not working, it's going to leave you exposed at the back. Now, another thing that I went on to drop was the pressing. We were playing much more often trigger pressing, but at the start of the game, I actually dropped this down to more often trigger pressing because I noticed that our players do get tired at some point, and the AI somehow tends to equalize the game. So I didn't want that to happen in the big game like the Champions League final. So I went and dropped that to more often trigger press. It did help us, but at some point we had to go ahead and press Liverpool seriously. So we went for very attacking, and the pressing probably went up through the roof at that point. Now, opposition instructions wise, Liverpool started with a 4-2-3-1 system. So it was very important that we played a 4-3-3 because you need to mark somebody that is playing as the advanced playmaker or the number 10 for Liverpool, the attacking midfielder. Let me just lock this to Liverpool's overall formation. They had a player in the number 10 role in Alex Scott. This guy actually scored us during that game, funny enough. But they had a more difficult player to handle in Lamine Yamal. Yamal was playing as the winger or inside forward on the left-hand side. So what I did was to ask Ivan Fresneda. You're going to see my player in Ivan Fresneda. He is playing as the fullback on my right-hand side. So he's the one marking Lamine Yamal. I actually asked him to mark tighter because this player like Yamal could be very dangerous. And then as much as Ivan Fresneda was playing as the attacking player, he had to remember that Lamine Yamal was there. Often the fullback I tend to forget and then ignore the winger that is supposed to be marking. So I had to force Fresneda to actually stay on Lamine Yamal a lot, and that kind of helped us in the game. Now it helps that we played a 4-2-3-1. I'm going to just turn on Liverpool's system and our system right now. You can see our overall possession, and Lamine Yamal is currently being marked by Ivan Fresneda. The two centre backs that we have in our team is going to be marking Liverpool striker in Gaz Grady. It didn't really help because he went on to score anyway. Now Ben Doak, I think, was the winger on the left hand side. He's already taken cover by my wing back in Rakagnelli, but this guy actually is to got inside and play as the inverted wing back on support duty. That kind of forced the other wide player here to actually tuck inside as well. The main threat really happened in this defensive midfield and attacking midfield position because Liverpool had an attacking midfielder like I mentioned in Alex Scott, and at some point Moscardo, our player here, instead of playing as a deep line playmaker on defend duty, I actually opted for an anchor man because I wanted this player to just stay in that position and mark the number 10 for Liverpool. So to win the Champions League, it does help that you have your formation on point because you need to make sure that there's nobody running free from the Liverpool lineup or from the opponent's lineup. So in this case, I had man for man everybody. A 4-3-3 actually goes man for man for a 4-2-3-1. So it did help us that our shape was a 4-3-3. Now, like I mentioned, the match ended 4-4. So the most important thing that we did that actually helped us win the Champions League was going into the training schedule, and then you're going to see a fixture against Liverpool. Okay, currently everything is grayed out now, but you're going to see that during the match scenario for the Liverpool game, I actually changed the training schedule to be match scenario, big match preparation. Because when it comes to the Champions League final, you're going to want to have some key training routines that are all set up. Your set piece routines have to be set up, and you also need to practice for penalties in case the game goes all the way to penalties. So in case you don't know how to do that, you can get over, okay, let's say there's a preseason training here. And if you want to do that, you're going to go into scenario. Currently, it has boot camp and full week of rest. But if you're in the middle of a season, you would see big match preparation under your scenarios, and just go ahead and select that. Okay, let's just go to the shadows and see if you can actually find it. So there's scenario here. Yes, go over to shadows, go over to scenario. You're going to see big match preparation over here. Select it. There's either one match or two matches. I'm going to select one match to see what it looks like. So during the Champions League final, this is how it looked like. We had penalties, and then we had the game against Liverpool coming up. If you're playing a game in the league, these penalties may not be penalties. It may be something else like routines or something else like that. But for a big game like the Champions League final or the FA Cup final, you will have penalties selected. So you need to kind of turn that on. It helps you when your game actually goes all the way to penalties. Your players would have practiced your penalties, and then they will find a way to score most of them. So that is how we are able to win the Champions League against Liverpool. We currently won it. You'd notice that in the league, Man City are 6th, Liverpool are 3rd. So we had a struggling season, not because we were not good, but because I kind of came into the club when they were in financial struggle. I came in from Monaco. So there's a lot of financial struggle in the club, but so they lost a lot of players. Man City are going through a lot right now, but we somehow found a way to get into the Champions League final and win it using the principles that I just showed you. So in case you're going into the Champions League final or you're going into a major final of a competition in Football Manager, remember to go into your training schedules and add penalties. And also remember that you're going to look at the opposition's formation and try to match them with yours, and make sure that your players are actually marking their key players. Try to find a good playmaker that you can have in a good position that can create chances for you. Somebody like Musiala was my case, an advanced playmaker. And then if you notice that you have a dangerous winger, also ask your fullback that might be too attacking. Ask that guy to go in and play as type marking. Have him stay on the winger that is on that side, so you can actually mark him and try to stop him from creating too many chances. And then last but not the least, remember that at key points in the game, you can go attacking or very attacking to try and force a goal. And once that's done and you've scored your goal and you're kind of comfortable, go back to balance, because you may be too exposed if you're constantly playing very attacking, or you just find a way to balance it where you can keep the opposition under high intensity pressure all the time, but find a way to control possession of the ball when you're leading the game. So that's how we're able to win the Champions League. For more Football Manager tips like this, do let me know in the comment section if you have more questions, and subscribe to the channel for more Football Manager tactic videos like this. I'll see you next time. Enjoy your Football Manager.